Hey guys, it's Chris here, and today I am joined by Mr. Alex Ahad, the creative director for newly released Skullgirls. How's it going, Alex?
Going pretty good.
Brilliant, thank you very much for agreeing to do a quick interview, and yeah, shall we jump into a few questions?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, so Skullgirls was released last week on the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live Arcade. How have you found the initial response?
It's been actually pretty good. Yeah, the reviews that have been coming in are quite positive. Most of them are pretty good. It's there are a few universal things that have been mentioned, and we're definitely addressing that, and I agree on some of the points that have been brought up. But overall, it's been doing really well, and it's been going to various tournaments, and it's really cool seeing people play online and discover all sorts of different tricks to do with the characters. And also, it's cool seeing people speculate about like character stories and other aspects of the game like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's currently on an 80 on Metacritic, I think. It seems to be pretty damn good for Research Labs' first release.
Yeah, it's going pretty strong. Hopefully, it'll keep going. With that trend.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I contacted you about this interview, you mentioned that one of your main concerns at the moment is that you need Skullgirls to be successful for the team to carry on with their plans for the game. Do you want to give any hints as to what those plans may be?
I'm not sure how much detail I can go into, but I know that we would like to add like more characters, for example, is something since this idea was planned a long time ago, and I had like other characters in mind, and obviously there's like hints at potential characters that you might see in story mode, for example. We would like to see if we can do that at least, and then patching stuff that to address issues would also be good. So that's hopefully something that we'll be able to get to.
Yeah, I mean I've seen that Squiggly and Umbrella are both characters that have been confirmed for DLC. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I mean we're definitely planning on that. Yeah, working towards like Squiggly and Umbrella, and we've been thinking about those characters a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the game was released with, is it 8 players on the roster, 8 characters on the roster? Is that right? Have I made that number up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, currently right now there are 8 playable characters. Yeah,
and I've seen that you're hoping to introduce a few new characters, maybe even a few male characters as well. It was an idea I've seen floating around at the moment.
I mean, females. There's that. There's also like potential male characters in the future as well. Yeah, you might have seen some of them in the game. I mean, it's kind of like it's like pretty open book. What you see in the game is sort of like fair game in some ways.
Yep. So in terms of new content, the closest thing we're going to be looking towards is probably the DLC characters then.
Yeah. It'll in terms of what's first. It probably would be some sort of patch, I think, but I don't know if I can go into in terms of new content. It would be like characters.
Brilliant. Okay then. So as well as this being the first project for Research Labs, I believe this is also your first game, the first game that you've worked on, and it sounds like there's something of an interesting story behind how you and Mike Zayment, who's now the project lead and designer for Skullgirls, actually met. Is that right?
Yep. We were both kind of like developing our own thing on the side, like without previously knowing of each other, like just by the way we were working. I would like to design characters on the side for the hell of it, and then put them together in this like hypothetical fighting game in my mind. But I didn't have much experience with like programming, let alone like actually the finer details of making a fighting game. But Mike had this engine that he was working on the side as well that was a competent and comprehensive fighting game engine, but didn't have like art in it. And what happened was some mutual friends, like my friend Jeff, they were he knew of Mike's engine, and he was friends with me, so he knew of my ideas, and he kind of like got us hooked up together. We both actually happened to live in the area too, because Mike was working at Pandemic at that time, which is in Westwood, which is an area in LA, and it's near UCLA, the school I was going to at the same time with Jeff. And yeah, he introduced us, and that's kind of how we met, and started work from there.
That sounds like there's a crazy amount of luck in that story. I mean, you were designing these characters for a game, but without the engine to run it, and Mike was designing the engine, but without the everything else that goes around it. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was like an extremely fortunate like ability to be able to meet and like collaborate on that. Yeah, it's like I guess it's like a crazy chance.
Well, nicely done, Jeff, for introducing you. Okay, so so you've been designing these characters even before you met Mike, as you just said, and how on earth do you start that process? I mean, where do you look for your inspiration?
I like to think of like a single theme of a character, and then kind of just try to play around that. Like Philia would be like living hair monster. Cerebellus, that giant hat, kind of like try to play up that aspect of them. What's kind of interesting about Philia actually is she originally started off as like it was the design of like of this monster with like a girl growing out of a girl shaped entity growing out of her back, but then I kind of eventually, as I like refined the idea, like flipped it around so it was this girl with a monster entity growing out of her, and then over time I would refine the idea and streamline the design so that like some of the details that were there before kind of got like streamlined and then like exaggerated shape more. In terms of things like Peacock, she was inspired by just like I always wanted to see like a cartoon themed character in a fighting game, and just really play off of that, since most of the fighting games I was familiar with at the time, especially were more on the anime influence side. So I kind of wanted to try something with a more cartoon motif to it, but definitely have that demented aspect of that cartoons can have as well.
Yeah, but is there any like particular games or maybe even anime or where do you think you found the inspiration for some of these characters, or is it just ideas you always really had floating around?
It's kind of a mix. I mean, like I also get like definitely ideas from like anime and games that I've seen before. At the time I was really enamored by seeing all these doujin games, so like seeing like EFZ and Melty Blood, and also at the time Guilty Gear, and before that Darkstalkers was a huge influence, as well as JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I just really like how those games kind of like their style and their feel were. Capcom games from that era were the way they approach shapes, especially back then, like kind of like big distinct silhouettes, like chunky shapes, really stood out to me.
There's been some controversy surrounding Skullgirls. I mean, back in December, there was that interview with Eurogamer in which the topic of sexism was raised. I've read your response on your DeviantArt journal, but for those who haven't, do you want to just clear the air a bit and share your thoughts on the idea of Skullgirls being a sexist game?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's actually a difference between like sexist and like sexy. I think the style that the game goes for, it's very cheesecake, it's very like tongue in cheek, but I understand that, and we kind of just like embrace that wholesale in terms of like the way the style is. But in terms of like what I believe is sexist and sexy, like the difference would be like sexist would imply that the character, like that female characters are like downplayed or pushed to the side, which is pretty much the opposite case for Skullgirls. They're definitely not going to be like pushed to the side, and like they're definitely at equal level to male characters, if not more often than not higher level than male characters in terms of their significance in the plot, or their power levels, or their competence. You might see examples of things where that you might have seen before, like maybe like how Cerebella's story mode is, but then you'll see things like Parasol, where she's like a competent leader and leads like an entire troop of soldiers and is more heroic. So you'll see cases like that in the story, as well as like their personality types, and I think that's more of what should be addressed more than like panty shots or the style being how it is. I think there are like far more prominent cases, or in other games and in other forms of media anyway. So I think it's just like maybe it's just being singled out just because it's all girls, and also because the style is like a lot more exaggerated than what people are probably used to seeing.
Exactly. Okay, let's try and end this interview on something a little bit more lighthearted. Alex had the creative director of Skullgirls. Favorite character and why? I
usually say Peacock and Painwheel are my favorite characters. I just like that. I just like that cartoon style, and also Peacock's just very fun to think about in terms of like how she would be, like how she acts, and just like for example, like thinking of her story mode was really fun. And then she's this little kid who's totally like gangster, I guess,
Yeah.
but like like this kind of cartoony, silly way. So it was fun.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time. Is there anything you'd like to plug? Obviously, Skullgirls is out on the Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network, possibly the PC in the future. Is there anything you'd like to plug? Your Twitter account? I know you don't really seem to use that much, but your DeviantArt page, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, like I'll try to update it more often, but like 08 OH8 is my DeviantArt. Sometimes I'll post up art for Skullgirls or my other stuff on there. But yeah, I mean, like I just wanted to also say, like all the fan response has been really encouraging. Seeing both like people play online, as well as seeing like fan art, and all that fan reaction is just really amazing, and it's kind of like mind blowing to see characters from Skullgirls being mentioned alongside other far more well established characters from like previous franchises. Just like it's all in people's minds at equal footing in a sense. So that's really amazing, and I really hope that we are able to continue. So I wanted to thank all the fans for their support, and hope for future support, and hopefully we can bring them more stuff from Skullgirls.
Yeah, me too. Best of luck with the next few weeks, and thanks for coming along for the interview.
Thank you.